This video is one in a series of videos that cover database topics in 3 themes. We look at Oracle APEX, Application Express for web applications, relational database concepts for designing and building databases, and SQL, the programming language for working with a relational database. If you want to work with the video series, you can go to this URL to get the scripts and handouts. In this video, we're going to do 3 separate things. The first thing is create a view that I planned to create in the previous video, but the video was going too long. So I want to create a view that uses 2 tables twice. We'll use employees twice, once as subordinate, once as supervisor. And the same thing for persons. The related subordinate first name, last name, person data, and then another copy of persons for the supervisor's first name, last name, phone number. So if you're going to try to display information such as first name, last name, phone number for supervisor along with the employee's first name, last name, and phone number, you're going to have to use those tables twice. So we'll see a good example of using table aliases and column aliases to help us keep track of all that. Then we're going to make some modifications to the settings of the public report, the one that requires no login and shows only animals available for adoption. We're going to remove some of the customization features that we've seen in the last couple of videos for interactive reports and interactive grids. Then we'll create a copy of the development application for the production application. So I'm logged into APEX as one of the developers. I had originally thought I would try to do the view of supervisors and employees using Query Builder, but Query Builder doesn't do a very good job of helping us write that code. There's a whole lot of editing that has to be done. So rather than using Query Builder, we'll write the code, the SQL code. So if you have a printout of the data model in front of you, it'll help you follow what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to do view, supervisor, employee. So I'm going to start by typing in the select statement, and then I'm going to skip a few lines and go to from. The reason I want to go to from is if we're going to put a table alias name in front of every column we want in the select clause, we need to define our table aliases right now. So I want to use the employees table, and I'm going to call it sub employee for the subordinate. Then I want to use the persons table, and that will also be sub pers. Then I want another copy of employees, and that's going to be the supervisor employee. And then I want another copy of persons, and that will be the supervisor person. I will need to come back and join those in the where clause, but first I'll come back to the select clause, and I will say that from sub employee, I want to get the employee, sorry, that'll be employee dot sub underscore emp dot emp ID. Then I want sub employee role. Here's a situation where we really do need the column aliases. So this is going to be emp ID. And this will be employee role. And this will be pers, first name, F name, and that'll be subordinate first name. Then sub pers L name as subordinate last name. I need a comma after each one of those. Then one more thing, this will be pers, sub pers, and this will be phone num as sub phone. So I've gotten the information I want about the subordinate. I'm going to repeat these. In fact, I'll go ahead and copy most of this and then make some edits because it's not going to come from those tables anymore. This will be SUPV and this will be SUPV. And then, whoops, I got a typo. You know, it's not all that hard, but it takes a little typing. I'll pause the video actually while I finish this up. So I'm pulling employee ID, role, first name, last name, and phone number from one copy of employees and persons. I'm pulling the next ID, role, first name, last name, phone from a copy for supervisors from both employee and persons. Then I have to join these tables. I will join the subordinate employee to the subordinate person on their common _ID field. I will do the same for supervisor. Supervisor employee pers _ID equals supervisor pers ID. Then I have to join the subordinate to its supervisor, and I do that by taking the supervisor. Let's see, I've got an error there. That would be supervisor employee dot imp _ID equal to the subordinates supervisor _ID. Let's try that. And I'm missing something here, so let's go back and take a look at it. And I think the problem I have is I have an extra comma. When I'm finished with the select clause, I would not have a comma there. I need to make some edits here because this should be from the employees table for the subordinate. And let's see, I think there's another typo. Yeah, up here. This P should be a B for sub. Okay, let's try that. And let's look at the data. So what we're seeing is Doris Moore is a supervisor for several employees, and Ray Nelson is also a supervisor. Let's go to the application, create a page. This will be an interactive report. I'll make this 163, and I'll put supervisors and employees. We'll create a navigation item under people and select that view. Run that report, log in, and then I can come in here for the control break, and I will do the supervisor ID, supervisor first name, supervisor last name, and apply that. So now I get it organized so that I see, whoops, I did the wrong things here, hang on. I picked sub instead of supervisor. So first name, last name, and apply that. So now I'm seeing that Moore, Doris Moore, supervises these employees. Ray Nelson supervises these. Nancy Morales, etc. And I will save that report, and I'll make that the default settings. So if I go to another report, but then I come back, I will see that same format. If you break it down, it's not as complicated as it looks, but just keep in mind that if you're going to connect information in something like a person's table to another person, from one person to another person, you're going to have to use 2 copies of that table. Now, what I wanted to do, since I've been working with the interactive report and grid, it brought to mind that I probably should come over to Application Builder, go to the Public Animals Available report that we have, and right now if we run that, there are a lot of these features available to the end users, including download. So what I want to do is edit this page and go to the attributes for that report, and we can have a search bar. We don't need a report list, and there are a lot of these that we might not want to include. Filtering is okay, select columns, row per page, sort, control break, no, highlight. Most of these I would say no, we don't want. They're not things we're making available to the public. And download, no. Let's try that, run that, and so now you have a very limited set of options here, but still fully functional for what the intent of this report is for the public. Now if I close that and I come back to Application Builder, in an earlier video we created a production application and started moving pages individually over from the development application to the public application. But I had a change of plans and decided that we would simply copy this application when we were finished and then remove from it some of the duplicate reports and forms where I was showing different features. So I'm going to select this production application and I'm going to delete it. I'm doing this a little too casually. Always make sure, think very carefully before you do something like delete an application. But because this is for instructional purposes, I'm a little more comfortable with doing deletes. I'm going to select the development application and make a copy of this application. And we will call this what we just deleted. Maybe I'll name it just slightly different. Animal Shelter Daily Operations. And click Next and copy that application. And this takes a couple of minutes. I'll pause the video. So now we're in Animal Shelter Daily Operations and we can run this application. This looks exactly like the other application, so I want to make a few edits here. I want to go to the application. I want to go to the shared components. Remember, we changed the layout of the menu. I want to come into Application Definition Attributes. I want User Interface, and I will click on User Interfaces. So I've selected Desktop Navigation Menu, but switch position to top, and we have Top Navigation Menu, and I'll apply those changes, and run the application. And we see these drop downs across the top with the red as a distinctly different color. I just want it visually right now to be distinctly different from the development application. So now we have a copy of the development application for production. It needs some cleanup, but it's almost ready for use.